Option 2 for the revised final for digital storytelling. And this is for the promotional, basically presentation of an app that you made up. So this is similar to the first option if you had to listen to that, which is to make a promo video. But if you don't have access to editing software, but you do have access to something like Google Slides or PowerPoint or Keynote, then you can do a visual presentation instead if you would prefer. It will need to be a little bit longer, so you're going to need to come up with a little bit more content because you're not going to be completing the kind of same technical side as if you were doing the video. But you'll be able to do this with a different kind of tech setup. It does require you to be able to get onto Zoom though, and to be able to have that kind of live video conferencing. So if that's a problem, then you might want to go for option 3, which is kind of the least technically intense. For this one, because I do want to build in just in case there are some tech gremlins, you will be presenting this one on Monday the 27th instead of Wednesday the 29th. And I want to be very clear about that in terms of the deadline. So if there's a problem and, your internet goes down on Monday, that allows us to come together again on Wednesday and to have you still present and have you still get credit for your final. You do need to actually finish the presentation in order to get credit. So that's why I want to have us go on Monday at 2 p.m. and then have Wednesday be there in case anyone has any extreme technical difficulties. If you missed both, then unfortunately you would end up receiving a 0 for it. So I do want to make sure that people are able to get online, and that if you do choose this, that you have the ability to get on to Zoom. So you're going to create a 5-minute visual presentation instead of a 1.5 to 2 minute video, and it's going to promote the app again to your intended audience. You'll want to, in this presentation, identify the problem that your app solves and highlight the features that your app provides to solve that problem. So again, these are things that you're kind of identifying earlier on in the discussion board areas, where you're going to tell me what the problem is, and you're going to tell me, some features that your app has that sets it apart, that allows it to kind of solve that problem in a unique way. And when you're doing the presentation, you want to make sure you're not pitching this to me. You're not necessarily pitching it to your friends. You're pitching it to your ideal audience. So whoever that ideal user is, that's who you need to appeal to. And you'll have already done your persona. So I know who that is, and your peers know who that is. So you want to make sure that that's who you're selling it to. So if you're selling a banking app, you want that to sound professional. You want it to look professional. If you're doing a dungeon crawler, well, then you don't want to be using the same font, and you don't want to be talking in the same voice that you would for the banking app. That probably wouldn't be appropriate unless your banking app is like aimed at metalheads or something. So you want that presentation to be interesting and compelling. So go back over all the techniques that we've talked about in class, refer back to your book or to the PDFs. If you guys need me to post a scan of the first section of the book, I can do that as well. So think about how your presentation should start off with a beginning. It should tell us your problem, have the middle where we get into a bit of conflict, maybe why, like how we're going to solve that problem, what doesn't exist currently that you end up solving. And then at the end, you want to make sure that we kind of come out changed, like the hero's journey, that we now are in a different place because we have the wonders of your app. So you want to use things like color in your slides. You want to use different fonts. You want to use different imagery to, get an emotional response out of that user. So you want to make the whole presentation as appealing to that intended audience as possible. Again, you don't necessarily need to show the app, but you can. So if you want to make a fake screenshot, if you want to go in, if you need access to the Adobe Creative Suite, let me know. I can get you a desktop download for that. It will be good until May 31st. And that's, again, assuming that you have access to a computer that is robust enough. And so if you wanted to mock something up in Photoshop, feel free to do that, but you don't have to. You can also, at times, you can have really kind of good drawings that let you understand how the app would work. So feel free to draw something up by hand and then take a photo of it and insert that into your slides. That's great too. So in terms of requirements, you're going to need to meet the shared requirements that everyone is, as I kind of referred to when we were talking through. But on the discussion board by April 17th, I want you to go through and like create an outline. And this can be just in text of what your presentation is going to cover, what your slides are going to be, and that way you can identify the assets and visuals you need. So that's about 10 days before we have our actual presentation. So that gives you a little bit of time to make sure that you have all the pieces, and that if you don't have them yet, you have time to make them. So you need to actually also just send me either the Keynote, the Google Slides, or the PowerPoint when you're done presenting as well. You don't need to send it to me beforehand. I'll have you share your screen, so that's fine. But once you're done presenting, please do send it along. And those are all the requirements for the second option, which is to do a presentation of your app via Zoom.